Listen, picture this scene. August 15th, 1947. Delhi. Massive crowd. And right in front of everyone, they're lowering the British flag. For the last time. For nearly 200 years, Britain ruled India. And suddenly, boom, it's over. You think they suddenly became compassionate? Woke up and said, "Oh, we're bad colonizers, let's free everyone?" Nope. They just went bankrupt. World War II completely destroyed them financially. Debt, 200% of their entire economy. Treasury empty. And they realized one simple thing. Without money from India, they couldn't sustain the empire. Here's what most people don't understand. India didn't gain freedom. Britain simply couldn't hold on anymore. As soon as India left, that's it. The empire started crumbling like a house of cards. Okay, let's start from the beginning. How did this all even start? December 31st, 1600. Queen Elizabeth signs a document, gives a bunch of English merchants exclusive rights to trade in the East, called it the East India Company. And let me tell you, this became the most powerful corporation in human history. At first, they just traded. Spices, textiles, tea, all proper and dignified. But then these guys started playing nation-state. By the 18th century, they had their own army, 260,000 soldiers, twice as large as Britain's own military. Think about that. A corporation with its own army, its own currency, its own empire. 1757, the Battle of Plassey. They defeated the local ruler of Bengal and got the right to collect taxes from 30 million people in one of the richest regions on the planet. That's when they transformed from merchants into monarchs, literally in just a few years. And the fun began. They seized monopolies on everything: salt, tobacco, opium, forced Indian craftsmen to sell them goods 40% below market price, weavers who made the finest textiles in the world, turned them into bonded laborers. Then came the famine, 1769, 1770, Bengal. Between 7 and 10 million people died. Millions. And you know what the company did? Nothing. Zero. Kept collecting taxes like nothing was happening. They literally taxed dead and dying people. Listen to this next part. It gets even worse. In 1750, India produced 25% of the world's industrial output. A quarter. By 1900, just 2%. What happened? The British systematically destroyed it economically. The scheme was genius. Indian markets were flooded with British goods, tariff-free. Meanwhile, Indian producers were crushed under massive taxes. And here's the beautiful part. British factories bought Indian cotton for pennies, made textiles from it, and sold those same textiles back to India for huge money. Profit guaranteed. Competition eliminated. Perfect. Over 50 years, British textile imports grew 3.5 times. Indian weavers were simply wiped out. And GDP per capita fell from 60% of Britain's to 15%. Over 270 years. But wait, that's not all. Opium. Opium. The East India Company became the largest drug dealer on the planet. Seriously. They forced farmers to grow opium, shipped it to China, traded it for silver and tea. China said, "Hey, stop poisoning our people." And Britain declared war on them. In 1839, fought a war for the right to sell drugs, and won. Opium became the second largest source of British government revenue. After land taxes, India, ash plantation, plus victim in one package. 1857, Indian soldiers revolted, one of the largest uprisings in colonial history. Britain crushed it brutally, then sent India the bill. Yes, that's right. Indians paid for suppressing their own rebellion, paid for their own defeat. After that, the British Crown took direct control, dissolved the company, but the plunder only intensified. The Indian Army, 65,000 British troops, 140,000 Indian soldiers, all funded by Indian taxes. Half of all India's revenue went to maintaining the army that was occupying it. The railways, everyone says, "Oh, Britain built railways for India, how wonderful." Wrong. Here's the truth. From 1860 to 1890, they built 25,000 kilometers of track, on Indian debt. All equipment, only from Britain. India borrowed the money, built the railways, and the profits went to London. These railways weren't built for Indians. They were built for British troops and cargo. One economist calculated, Britain drained $30–40 million from India every year, reinvested less than $250,000. He called it vampirism. Accurate word. World War I. Over 1 million Indian soldiers fought for Britain. Everywhere. France, Gallipoli, Mesopotamia. 150,000 killed or wounded. But even that wasn't enough. Millions of tons of wheat, cotton, timber, all shipped to Europe. India paid for it itself. More than that, India gifted Britain £100 million for the war effort. Gifted. World War II. Even worse. The Indian Army. 3.35 million men. The largest volunteer force in history. Britain racked up massive debts to India. By 1945, India was Britain's largest creditor. Then came the Bengal famine of 1943. Between 800,000 and 3.8 million people died. A man-made famine. While India starved to death, Britain diverted food to Europe. Churchill said Indians should learn to look after themselves. This cynic even suggested that India should pay Britain for its defense, used the famine as leverage to erase debt. By the end of the war, Britain was finished. Debt twice the size of the economy. Exports collapsed. Complete bankruptcy. The U.S. gave a loan of $3.75 billion. Here's Canada. Another $1.9 billion. Britain was repaying this until 2006. But the empire, that's it. Done. Without money from India, the machine doesn't work. June 3rd, 1947, they announced withdrawal. August 15th, the flag came down. This wasn't nobility. This was retreat. The numbers are just devastating. 1700, India, 27% of global GDP. 1947, 4%. Fell 7 times. Britain during the same period, from 2.9% to 9%, grew 3 times. 200 years of Britain's rise. 200 years of India's decline. When there was nothing left to drain, the empire collapsed. After independence, India began to rebuild. In 1947, life expectancy was 27 years. By 2000, over 60. In just a few decades, India achieved what 190 years of British development never did. Britain won the war, but lost its empire. By the 1960s, almost nothing remained. An empire that ruled a quarter of the planet simply evaporated. But here's what's interesting. History repeats itself. Today, the United States stands where Britain once stood. 750 military bases around the world. Trillions in debt. Financial system cracking at the seams. Britain's power, just colonies. U.S. power, just dollar, plus trade, plus military. But when debts grow faster than revenues, that's it. The end begins. Britain collapsed when it lost India. The U.S. will collapse when the dollar loses its strength. Britain's debt in 1945, 200% of GDP. U.S. debt now, close to that. History has already shown what happens next. Empires don't fall in a day. They slowly bleed out through arrogance, overspending, and the belief that power is eternal. Britain's mistake was simple. They thought they could drain the world forever. And when the bill came due, the sun over the British Empire set forever. The question is simple. Are you ready for what happens when the next empire starts to crumble? Because it will crumble. Not if. When. If this made you think, hit subscribe. History repeats itself, and you're either ready or you're not.